For me, it started off pretty normal. I knew a few people, and I honestly thought things were going to be great. I obviously wasn't expecting everything to be perfect, and I didn't think high school was going to be the best years of my life, like everyone that I've known and all the adults I know in my life say how great it was. I obviously knew that's not truly the case, but I figured it's going to be a fresh start from my small private school that I went to in grade school. I went to a grade school with around 30 people in my graduating class, which is very small compared to a lot of the public schools nearby, which might have 400, 500, 600 people. But I was happy. I had new teachers, new classes, and best of all, new people. I thought everything would be focused on making friends, building relationships with other students, and just having a good time. For the first couple of weeks, that actually is how it went. I was getting used to finding my classes, and I even stopped getting lost, unlike the first week. And I was slowly getting to a nice routine. I talked to a few people I already knew, met a few people new too, and nothing really stood out. It kind of just felt like the average day of my life, and I was kind of excited, and I was glad that that's how it was turning out. It just kind of felt like the average high school experience that my parents told me about, which was good, because that's what I was expecting. But after a few weeks, life started changing. At first, it didn't seem like a big deal to me. It was little things here and there, just jokes at my expense. Laughing for no reason. If I just, said something, people would laugh, and I just originally assumed maybe I'm funnier than I thought, but you learn quickly that that's not the case. And I kept on telling myself how you're overthinking it. It's in your head. Maybe they weren't talking about me or laughing at me. Maybe, I missed something. Maybe I missed a joke someone said. Maybe someone did a funny gesture, hand gesture. Maybe, maybe I just missed something and I was just being paranoid. And then a month or two later, it started happening more and more often. The jokes became direct to me. Every day seemed like something new, and it wasn't always one person. It would be more than one. Groups, even. Sometimes it would even be a person I don't even know. Someone I've never said a word to, or even talked to, harmed, did anything to in my life. And I remember waking up one day in the morning, and instead of thinking about my homework, or any projects I had, or anything school related, I dreaded going to school. I thought what would happen, what jokes would be said, what people would try to mess with me, and it got to me. Um, so I'd start getting to school later and later. I'd start missing the bus, asking my parents to drive me, because I didn't want to get there early. My bus got there at 7 in the morning. If my parents drove me, I didn't have to get there until 7:35. And that's a big difference when you're getting made fun of. That half an hour really helped me. I slept longer, I felt better, even during the day. And I'd start wondering who I'd run into and what someone would say. And stuff like that. Me having to not take the bus because I didn't want to get to school that early because I knew someone would say something to me is a pretty miserable way to wake up in the morning. The advice I always got from friends from other schools and friends online was that I should just ignore them. Eventually it's going to stop. People are going to get tired of the same stuff over and over, and, people move on. And I believe that. I stopped talking in school, only talked to teachers when necessary, and even that didn't work. And I never argued with anyone. I didn't try to start a fight. I mostly kept to myself because if I didn't react, eventually they'd get bored. Sometimes they did. Most of the times they did not. Sometimes ignoring it just made them think they could keep going because they knew they weren't going to get a reaction. But deeply inside, it did bother me. The thing about it isn't always one big moment that everyone notices. It's not like you get shoved in a locker like in the movies or anything like that. A lot of the times, it's the constant little things that wear you down. One comment isn't going to be the end of the world. People say stuff all the time. That's not what bothers someone. It's the multiple times a day. twice a class, 3 times a class. Everything directed at you. One comment isn't the end of the world, like I said. Neither is one joke. When it's all the time, every day, every week, every month, over and over, it starts to affect you ways you don't even notice. I didn't notice it at first, until I did, and at one point I started overthinking everything. Think about what I was wearing before I even left the house. Make sure my tie was on correctly, make sure everything was ready. Because if I was missing something, what if someone noticed? Someone could, report me to the principal just so I would get in trouble and they'd get a laugh out of it. I'd replay conversations in my head, after wondering if I said something weird. Maybe I did say something that people thought would be funny. Maybe I did accidentally say a joke. I never did. I'd hesitate before talking in class, because I didn't want to give anyone a reason to say anything. I started becoming quieter, not because I wanted to be, but because it was easier than putting myself out there. The hardest part wasn't even the comments themselves. It was the feeling of loneliness that I couldn't just relax at school. In elementary and middle school, it felt like a place that I could be to get away from the duties of home, other things, and it felt like a place where I could just learn, like it should be. A place where I can hang out with friends and learn. And school just stopped feeling a place where I could do that. It started to feel like somewhere where I had to survive until the final bell. 8th period, I had a science class, and my science teacher was a great guy. But I would wait for the bell to ring. I would watch the bell on my desktop and wait, hoping that, eventually it's always going to ring. At the end of the day, it's always going to ring. And I would sit there and wait. And I got to the point where my grades started dropping in his class. Because all I wanted to do was stare at that clock and wait it count down from 2 to 2:05 to 2:06 and keep going until I hit the end of class. Eventually, it stopped bothering me in that class. And because I had to, I got my grades back up so my parents would be happy. Because even in the midst of all of that, I never wanted to upset my parents or be a disappointment. Looking back now, I realize freshman year wasn't what I imagined. I thought it was going to be a year in which things changed for the better. Better me, better year, better friends, better life. But looking back now, it ended up teaching me some very difficult lessons about people, confidence, and the effect of a word. I used to say things without thinking, talking without thinking, and I personally hurt other people in ways that I could not imagine until it happened to me. I regret that. I regret the things I said to people online and in person. And I wish that I could say I handled everything perfectly. I never got mad at anyone. Days where I questioned myself, and days where I wondered what I have done wrong to deserve this. But as time went on, I also started realizing something important. A lot of times, the people who spend their time putting others down aren't doing it because there's something wrong with you. They're doing it because there's something wrong with them. That doesn't erase what happened, and it doesn't mean that's okay at all, but it helped me stop blaming myself. And if there's one thing I want anyone watching this to take away from my story, people will always have something to say about you, but their opinions don't decide your worth. Only you do. It took me a long time to realize that myself, but once I did, I stopped living for other people's approval and started living for myself.